If you've ever wondered why some people just seem to have an easier time in the world getting better tables, quicker service, or more trust from strangers before they even say a word, then stick around. What you're about to hear will quietly change how you look at every place you enter. Imagine a man walking into a car dealership in Miami. Within just 40 seconds of stepping inside, three salespeople have already sized him up, guessed his budget, and started changing how they act towards him. He hasn't mentioned money or what he does for work, but the watch on his wrist, a simple, understated piece, has already sent out a message so clear. It's almost like a financial resume broadcasting silently to everyone in the room. That watch cost $67,000, and wearing it wasn't really about telling time. It was about what happens in those first 40 seconds and how other people's minds react the moment they get that signal. Researchers call this a stat status signal. It's a mix of how we evolved, how we make financial decisions, and how we understand each other socially, but most people never really think about it. A status signal is any clue you can see that shows someone's position, what they have access to, or how trustworthy they are in a social group. The human brain has been picking up on these clues for about 200,000 years, long before we had language, money, or any of our current ideas about wealth and class. What's really interesting is that the brain doesn't slowly or logically figure out these signals. It processes them in the same deep parts of the brain that handle danger and survival. This means the judgment happens before you even consciously think about it. Now, here's where it gets really interesting financially. A $67,000 watch doesn't tell time any better than a $20 watch. That's not what you're buying. What you're buying is a consistent, automatic social adjustment in thousands of interactions over years, sometimes even decades. If you wear that watch for 10 years and it meaningfully improves 300 important interactions a year, like negotiations, introductions, or first impressions with potential partners or clients, then the cost per interaction drops to about $22. That's for a signal that works before you speak, before anyone knows your name, and before you've given any context. This idea might not convince everyone to buy such a watch, but it does explain why some people do, and shows us how the economics of status actually works underneath the surface. The deeper reason behind this is what psychologists call the halo effect. This is when one clearly good thing about someone makes your brain assume they must have a bunch of other good qualities too. When someone sees a high status signal, they don't just think expensive watch. They unconsciously start to believe the person is also competent, has good taste, is disciplined, successful, and socially approved all at once. This happens without them even realizing it. This isn't a flaw in how our brains work. It's actually an efficient way for them to operate. Our brains can't fully evaluate everyone we meet, so they use obvious cues to quickly make educated guesses. Status signals are simply the things and behaviors that over time have become the most reliable cues for those quick judgments. What makes this a system, and this is what most people miss, is that status signals don't just affect how others treat you in single moments. They build up. Someone who consistently sends out high status signals gets access to better environments, which leads to better information and connections. This in turn creates better outcomes, generates more resources, allows for even stronger signals, and opens the door to even better rooms. The sociologist Pierre Bourdieu called this turning money into social and cultural influence, and he spent years showing how this cycle keeps going, often across generations. So, the watch isn't just a watch. It's an entry point into a self-reinforcing cycle that most people are part of without ever clearly understanding it. And this is where your identity comes in, because the most powerful part of a status signal isn't what it does to how others see you. It's what it does to how you see yourself. Studies in behavioral psychology consistently show that the things we surround ourselves with, the places we put ourselves in, and the signals we choose to send out have a real effect on our own self-image and how we behave. When someone buys a $67,000 watch, a big part of the psychological benefit comes from the internal message it sends to themselves. It's a way of reevaluating what group they belong to, what kind of decisions they're allowed to make, and what level of expectations they can have. This isn't just wishful thinking. It's building your identity, and it works whether you're aware of it or not. After all this, it's worth thinking about why we do what we do. Most people are constantly sending out status signals through their clothes, how they stand, their words, the phone they use, the car they drive, and the confidence with which they enter a room. And most of them have never once thought about what those signals are actually saying or if that message matches where they want to go. The $67,000 watch is just one extreme example on a spectrum that includes every choice a person makes every day about how they present themselves, their environment, and their self-positioning. The people who understand this system don't necessarily spend more money. They spend more carefully, send more precise signals, and move through social situations with a quiet sense of purpose that, from the outside, looks a lot like effortless confidence. The signal is always being sent. The only question is whether you're the one deciding what it says. And if this changed how you see the places you walk into, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because most people are broadcasting on a frequency they've never consciously tuned into.